Can you talk to us about who this new ruling class are and where they came from?
Yes, the problem I've always had with saying, it's the WEF, or it's Bill Gates, or it's Soros, or something like that. I was thinking, if only the enemy was that small, if only there were a clutch of sort of Bond-baddie individuals and a small group of organisations, the Fabians, but it's actually bigger than that. I mean, those groups, don't get me wrong, are certainly in the mix, but the problem is much, much bigger. That class of people who encouraged the growth of the state and have benefited from the growth of the state, and whose number has expanded with the growth of the state. And it is broadly consistent with what the Europeans call the intelligentsia. Right. They are people who have, with university degrees, usually with arts degrees or in social sciences, not useful subjects, who are a bit snooty about capitalism and who can imagine themselves working in the public sector or for an NGO or for a charity or one of these non-commercial organizations. They are huge now. We're talking about the educational establishment, teachers and lecturers and universities, but the number of people now who are reliant on the state, who believe in a bigger state, more state power, that class is now very big, and it actually constitutes the ruling establishment. I mean, they are the senior civil servants who will talk about policy. They are the journalists, or journalists apart from some of us, are very much part of that.
These quangos.
Part of that group. Well, quangos, because they're not just directly employed by the public sector, they're also part of the intelligentsia. The intelligentsia in the West is profoundly anti-capitalist. It's profoundly socialist. But it's not socialist in the sense that it's for the working class. It's socialist in the sense that it's for a big state. It approves of the big state. It's rather, there's a profound subjective anti-capitalism from this class, which dates back to the 19th century and before. Ludwig von Mises wrote a brilliant book on it called The Anti-Capitalistic Mentality. The intellectuals hate the market because the market hates them. And it's a hugely intolerant group. It is, it wants to determine what we all think. It wants to determine what we see and hear, and it wants to take our money. It loves high taxes.
As you say, winning the election is one thing, but actually fixing this is a completely different ballgame, right?
Yeah, I mean, who knows what reform will be like when they get in. I mean, I hope they will be really, really radical, more radical than Donald Trump. Donald Trump has upset the blob by being who he is, and to an extent doing what he's done, but he hasn't massively cut public spending. I think that really we're getting to the point where you need to take absolutely radical steps. You've got to privatise the NHS. You've got to privatise schools. You've got to privatise the education system. You've got to stop giving any money whatsoever to the universities. They must be private institutions. I mean, it's nothing short of a social revolution that needs to take place to get us back on track, to get us back to a properly speaking, free market, civilized society